All right, welcome everybody to day 3 of the 12 days of Christmas. So thank you so much for those of you. Of course, I can see your faces. Those of you that have been with us since the beginning, those of you that are jumping on for the first time, I really appreciate it. Do be sure to spread the word. Of course, we are recording this and we want people to be able to go to our YouTube channel to be able to see it if they couldn't be with us tonight. Don't forget to let them know there's definitely going to be some time sensitive information. So you're going to want to check it out soon, definitely before the 6th, to be able to get in on some of the fun. But I always just want to start by kind of letting everybody know where I came up with this, especially if this is your first time with us. Even actually, I just spoke with Lisa Hoffman today. She's going to be one of our guests and she calls me. She's like, what are we doing? She's like, I just agreed to it and I have no idea what we're doing. I'm like, I don't really know what we're doing either. We're just like having fun. But really for me, my whole idea was I feel like now, what I love about tonight's guests, of course, you guys are Jewish, and so it's not Christmas for you, and bringing diversity into it was not intentional. I just absolutely adore both of you. So I'll probably have lots of questions about your traditions and how you celebrate your holiday. So this is not a religious celebration. It was just, I was trying to find an excuse to continue to create community after our Christmas is done. And I'm sure you guys experience the same thing as like small business. There's all this like hustle bustle and everybody's like shoving stuff down your throat and it's like bye, 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 bye for Christmas. And I just did not want that this year. I just wanted like peace. I just wanted to be able to enjoy it. I didn't want to get caught up in that. And as I've been joking, everybody does like the Advent. So one, I have no idea what that is. Two, there was way too much pre-planning in that for my life. So there's nothing like that that's ever going to happen. And when I started looking into the 12 days of Christmas, I actually thought it was like 12 days leading up to Christmas. And then as I started researching it, because hence I'm not that religious, it was like, all right, well, this is something I can do. Because you know what, I feel like we all get to Christmas and then it just like falls apart. Like everybody just sort of stops, wishing holidays. It's like as if everything is just over and then we're already to New Year. And I just wanted to continue to spread joy and create community and share time with friends in a way in which I can actually enjoy it. So that's where this all came from. And it was happenstance that I just started hitting up people that I love and adore. So somebody like Becky and Lori, I feel like most of my audience knows you and vice versa, but that's okay. Hopefully we're going to be bringing some new people into the mix. But as people look at my lineup, there's some people that are non-knitting related. There's some people like Sophie from Dolphina Collective on the first day. I feel like maybe not as much of my community knew her, which was great. And that's exactly why I'm doing this. So it's really just to have a fun platform to be able to share and get people to continue to get to know each other, because the community that I know I've built and I know Becky you've built, and again, many of our communities are the same. It's just always so much fun. Plus, tonight there's an unexpected drop. So this one was not even planned, but in future updates, we are definitely going to have 2 new yarn drops. We've got a coupon going on our part. We've got a raffle to give away on the last day, the 6th. And our candle drop is going to happen again, and just lots of other fun things. So I feel really bad, but Becky, before we launch into your stuff, I need to find Amy. Oh, now she left. Where did that lamb go? Amy, are you there?
Yeah, I see it.
Yep.
I don't know that. I want to see that lamb.
Amy, I'm spotlighting you. There we go. All right, so guys, just a little precursor, and Amy's going to have to help me because I don't have my calendar in front of me. So I'm not sure when Amy is joining us. I think it's maybe the 4th, the 5th. Amy,
yeah,
it's the 5th.
4th, I think.
The 4th, I know, the two of us, we have no idea. And we actually have an exciting collab to be able to share with you guys. But Amy, just quickly as a precursor, because you said this little nugget might not be with you on the 5th. So why don't you tell us who this is?
So I'm an agriculture teacher, and this is one of my little guys from school. His mama only took care of the one. And so this is the other one, and he got to come home with me because it was 7 degrees that next night. And so he's been here with us, and he's probably going to go back to school tomorrow or in the next couple of days, but he won't be here with us next Wednesday.
And is that because it's warming up so he can at least go back there? But don't you still have to bottle feed him then?
Yes, he'll still get bottle fed for the next 7 weeks. So
Yeah, but how many times a day do you have to bottle feed him?
a lot.
I was just gonna. Becky's like, that's a lot. Let me tell you. Well, that's my point. But then you have to drive to school every time.
Yeah. So Braylon's been helping me big time, but it's a lot. But I'm there most days. I know he's hysterical. I'm there a lot anyway, and so it's not too bad.
Now, if I remember correctly, your school sheep are not a wool breed, correct?
Correct.
So what is he?
He's Katahdin.
Yeah, so that's a hair breed. So sorry, buddy, you're not part of the knitting community, but you're super, super cute.
He really is.
Well, I know we're a little bit on borrowed time with Mama Becky here, so I don't want to
For the baby sheep.
But Amy, thank you so much for bringing that little nugget on. I appreciate it. And I'll look forward, of course, to spending time with Amy. For those of you that maybe might not know, Amy Kidd is Follow Your Arrow Farm. So she's on our calendar for later in the lineup. She lives down in North Carolina. Elizabeth Benson knows her very well. And we have a chance to hook up every time I go down there to shear. So she's got a flock of Gotlands. And I shear for her both spring and fall. And she's just become a really good friend of mine as a result of that. So she's a perfect example of just somebody like a little different, to be able to bring to our lineup. Guys, the one thing I keep forgetting as well is this is supposed to be interactive. At least I can see your faces, which is what I love. But if anybody ever has any questions as we're rolling through this, don't forget that you can go to your reactions at the bottom of the screen and you can raise your hand. I will see that. And then I'm happy to spotlight you if you have questions. If you feel bad about interrupting myself or any of our guests, don't feel bad about it at all. That's what this is all about. I just feel like I forgot to remind people the first 2 nights. So I'm settling into the groove a little bit. So just in case, I'm hoping maybe even just in the comments, if you guys want to throw in, if anybody is new to Clinton Hill Cashmere or to Lori Kimmelsteel, that's amazing. So don't be afraid to say, yes, I'm absolutely new to these people. That's what we want to hear. So Becky, I'll let you go. I feel like it's almost like mom should she's the precursor to it all, right? So I don't know, Lori, why don't you give us just a little brief synopsis about who you are, since you obviously started it once you had Becky.
Yeah, even before. I'm Rebecca's mom. I still call her Rebecca sometimes. And she learned to knit from me, and I'm extremely proud of my daughter and her company, Clinton Hill Cashmere. She learned to knit from me. I am a knitting instructor and designer, but I pale in comparison to what my daughter does. And I love to teach people to knit. I also love Long Island Yarn and Farm and Tabitha. I'm wearing a hat I made. It actually took me a few days. I finished it tonight, but it's just, I love her yarns, and I've made quite a few designs for them, as well as for Clinton Hill Cashmere.
Well, so how did you start knitting, Lori? Where did it start for you?
I started knitting, I think I learned in the Girl Scouts. I never realized that my paternal grandmother knitted. My mother never knitted in front of me until she came to live with me at about age 85, when she had early onset Alzheimer's. I handed her needles, and she became a really great knitter for the time that she was with me. She made beautiful things, very simply, but she had good taste, which she clearly has passed on. And her very creative, and Rebecca has a lot of her grandma in her. It was my mother who told me after college, when I couldn't find a job, she said, well, there's a new knitting store, go in there, at least do something. And I started knitting, and I just took to it magically, and it's never left me. And I love to teach people to knit.
Well, that's what I was
Absolutely
going to
love it.
ask you, because I don't know that I'm really sure. Was knitting your career? Like, was it a side hobby? Was it a
It's
career?
a
I
side
mean,
hobby. I'm a weaver, and that has, I've been weaving for about almost 40 years, and I do still have my weaving business, but it's taken a little bit of a back burner to my knitting. And there's so many people on here who um, are part of my knitting life, including Lisa Hoffman, Gail, Doreen. I'm trying to see who else is on here. I know there's quite a few of my own knitters. I run a salon in my house teaching knitting weekly, and I have a few hundred people on my mailing list, and we have a small group that meets weekly. I keep the numbers down, but it's been incredibly successful and wonderful because, as we all know, knitting is the source of peace and calm. So many of you share that feeling that we knit because it keeps us sane. It keeps us, I have a saying that says, if men could knit, there'd be no war. And, you know,
Men can knit.
yeah, many men can knit, including my sons both know how to knit. But anyway, I just, I'm doing a lot of teaching, and I sell yarns in my home as part of my salons. And those include Long Island Yarn and Farm and Clinton Hill Cashmere and several others. And happy to be here and happy to show off my new hat.
Well, I was going to say, so we're definitely going to talk about that. And then the other thing too is, between the both of you, don't let me forget to share the story. I would have shared it anyway, even though I do see Lisa on now, but we have to share after like our introductions and when we just sort of like start chopping it up about our mutual friends, and then also about the fact that your husband does the bees on the farm. So I'll just say that. So we'll have to go back to that. But I just think it's so crazy how small of a world it is, because it's like our worlds have collided in a number of different directions. So I do love that part as well. So,
Yeah,
so Becky, obviously the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but I know you have a journey, like in terms of where you started and then why you're where you are now with Clinton Hill Cashmere. And I mean, I'm honestly just want to like jump onto the baby, but I guess we'll have to let people know about your background first.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having us on. And I've never done this with my mom, so this is a treat and really special.
Well, you can thank your mom for hitting me up at the 11th hour. And
I hadn't spoken to her for a few days, and I happened to call and I was like, oh, I have this thing for Tabitha. And I was like, running around in 6 different places. And she said she was knitting with your yarn. And so it all came together.
It's just, you know what? And that's exactly what this is all about. Like, it just happened. And I even said to Lori, I said, I feel bad that I just didn't even think to ask, because of course, we have a couple of Lori's patterns that, we gift to people that purchase yarn. And anyway, so it's perfect. I'm thrilled. So thank you. So go.
We are
really
too.
Special. So as you all can tell, my mom is a big weaver, knitter, craft person. And so I grew up in a very crafty home, and my mom taught me to knit when I was 4. And so I think I owe it to her to where I am today, but also for teaching me the love of knitting, the love of really good fiber. I often tell, there's a story, I don't even know if she remembers, but we were in a knitting store and I must have seen some like really colorful synthetic yarn as a child, and I was like, ooh, I love this. And she was like, we don't knit with that. So there is this and not that we don't knit, but just that she really taught me the love of high-end fiber, and the value of knitting with good yarn and how it impacts your knitting and wearing it and all of that. But all fiber is created equal. So
Wait Wait, only so you just don't feel bad, because look, I understand you're trying to but it's okay. So we have a joke here because we did a collab, a collab. That was last night's conversation. Collab or collab. So it's collab. And with an indie dyer, and the yarn was beautiful, but look, everyone has different tastes, right? So it was very colorful, which is very different from my aesthetic. And this was when I had Karen Polly working with me here at the farm. She opened up the box and she's like, it looks like Michael's yarn. We were like, so it's just been a joke. So when you said that, I totally get it. And now we always kid around with her. We'll buy her cards, stuff like that. So that's our joke here. So it's okay. You can knit with whatever you want to knit with, but it's still funny.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up not only knitting, but also being around, going to knitting stores with my mom. I remember going to knitting stores very young, and anytime we were on vacation, things like that. So it was sort of ingrained in my being to knit, but I never thought you could have a career in knitting. I never thought that you could, have a job in this fun world that I got to, little glimpses of. And then because of my mom, when I graduated, I studied costume design in college, and I did a lot of sewing and design work. So I was in this trajectory to have this crafty life, but I thought it had to be in the fashion world in order to do it. And when I graduated college, it was 2008, so it was a little bit tough to find jobs. There was a economic crisis or whatever, and Lisa Hoffman, who is on, so it's so nice to have this all come full circle, had worked at a knitting store with my mom in the past, and she called my mom and said, I know that Rebecca needs a job. We have an opening for a salesperson at the knitting store she worked at in New York City at the time, at String, where she still is. And I went in for an interview, and I remember thinking, I'm just going to work here, very short time until I find a real job. And it is very much a real job. And I ended up working there almost 7 years. So I clearly fell in love with the industry and fell in love with knitting and design work and yarn. And there is where I really fell in love with cashmere. And Linda Morse, who owned the store at the time, was a big time cashmere lover and taught us the love of luxury fibers. So I really learned a lot from Lisa, from Linda, from Petra, from Lydia, all the wonderful women of String, to really appreciate good quality luxury yarn and to create amazing quality garments to go along and pair with that yarn. And that sort of became the way that I knit and the way that I, believed in knitting. In the end of the beginning of 2015, the store was sold, and I got a position at Vogue Knitting magazine, which I actually had an internship there in college because of my mom. So always listen to your mom. And it was sort of like a dream idea for a young 20-something in the knitting industry to work at Vogue Knitting. So I took that position and worked there for 2 years, which was also a great way to learn this other side of the industry and meet other companies and people and events, and all came full circle from working in a knitting store to working for a different type of company within the industry. And then I went on maternity leave in 2016. And my world kind of just changed, and I wanted to be home with my son, and I wanted to continue knitting, and I wanted to kind of make this life about knitting, but without having to go back to this, 9 to 6 job commuting to the city. So I ended up coming up with this concept. I had always wanted to start a knitting company. I loved the aspect. I loved when I worked at String, the business side of things. I loved meeting the customers and kind of, the marketing and the social media. When I worked at String, Instagram had just started, and we were just starting to get photos up. And I remember thinking this is so cool. And then as the knitting world evolved into what the regular retail world was of shopping online, and really blowing. I mean, in 2016, I was shopping online a ton, but the knitting world was like half online. And people were online shopping, but it was a very difficult thing to buy yarn online at the time. There were a few like big companies, obviously. And I just thought, wouldn't it be so cool if you could do all of this online in the luxury space and see these beautiful photos that you see when you go on to Bergdorf's and Net-a-Porter and Chanel, and then be able to buy that kit and it comes in this beautiful packaging. And if you don't like it, you can just return it. And you can also get all this extra customer service help, but it's all online. So you can do it from sitting in your house. And the way that I was
wait, so this was really a business thought that you had pre-COVID?
Oh, this was 2016. Yeah, this was 2016. I was actually still working at Vogue Knitting, and I kept thinking, this is what I'm going to do after maternity leave. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm going to start really small, and if it doesn't work, I know a lot of people who love cashmere, and we'll gift them the yarn type thing. And so I spent about 8 months from the point that I had my first child to launching, and I just wrote this business plan. I was also taking business courses at the time at FIT. And actually, funny story, Jared Flood was in one of my business classes at FIT when he was still in New York. I mean, he had Brooklyn Tweed at the time, but it wasn't what it is now. And I was like, how is it that these two knitting young people are in this FIT business class? And it just was really exciting to me, but we didn't really talk much, but that's fine.
That's all right. I only finally got to meet him, and then like right before he moved, and I was like, oh, I was like totally gobsmacked. I mean,
yeah, I think he was probably like a little bit like, okay, back off a little bit.
Well, I'll put it out there in the ether. It's still a dream of mine to work with him. Not that I've done anything about it, but it's in the back.
No, it's just, he really created a really amazing company. And I hope that maybe it's because we took this business class together that like, so I don't know where I was, but I created this business plan. And I mean, I still sometimes will look at it because it's really exciting to see like what I thought this business would be and where it's come. But everything from like, offering free shipping, because that was something that was really important to me when I was shopping online, to the way that it's packaged. And, obviously the knitting world has changed dramatically since 2016, especially with COVID and with Instagram. And at the time there weren't a ton of you weren't seeing as much happening because you didn't have Instagram and Vogue Knitting Live in person existed at the time. But anyway, so we launched very, very small with 6 colors and 1 yarn weight. And now we have 3 yarn weights, 24 colors, and a very thriving business. And it's just—
and 3 kids.
And 3 kids. And it's just really been incredible to go from, working out of my tiny apartment in Brooklyn to having a full warehouse style place with yarn. I mean, it's just really, and I thank so many people who are on here for being customers, for helping me out. Lisa, Tabitha has been such a source of knowledge and encouragement. So, and my mom, of course. So it's just been a really, really cool journey. And it all started with learning to knit at age 4. So I got to teach my kids to knit.
Before we get too far down any rabbit hole, you have to introduce us to the newest. Now, secretly, like Goldie just has my heart. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I think because
You're not the only one.
She really does seem like she's a little devil child, and probably just because of our conversations and things like that as well.
She's a character.
But you went ahead and had 3. So tell us about your newest.
This is Libby, Libi. And Libby actually in Hebrew means my heart. So that's the kind of the source of her name. And her middle name is Milla, which is after my paternal great grandmother, who I've also created what do I say about her? So she is a Holocaust survivor. She lived to 101. She was a really, really tough cookie. And she, she was alive in my life until I was, I think, 13.
Or 15,
15? No,
died 1999,
13.
13. Oh, wrong child.
And she was really strong, and because of her entire family survived the Holocaust. And her daughter, who's my grandmother, who's still alive, is an incredible knitter. Was Oma Milla a knitter also, Mom?
Oh,
I don't know if she was a knitter, but my grandmother, who is her daughter, is an incredible knitter. And she was French, so she just had this aura about her, and just amazing. So we hope that she gets a little bit of that strength and toughness, but also she's sweet and waking up. So you guys can see her a little bit.
Now, how old is she?
She is 11 weeks on Friday. What day are we at? Wednesday. So she's almost 11 weeks.
And for those of you that maybe joined us afterwards, and of course we hadn't started recording, but I was so shocked at her dark hair.
Yeah.
Considering I know your other two, I'm like, where in the world did that come from? And it's a full head of hair.
Yes. Are you awake? She had more. I think some of it has come out, but I don't know where it came from. And I don't
honestly look, wait, noticing at the sides, I feel like her and I have a little bit of the shame.
She's got a little fade going on. Yeah.
Exactly. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Want to say hi to everybody?
So cute.
I put her in some cashmere, but I didn't.
Now I've got to throw this in, and I think you'll remember, and I'm actually doing this for Dawn, who I hope is still on and didn't get kicked off. So I get razzed quite a bit still for my unnamed llama, which I've said multiple times that on January 6th, which is now going to be the culmination of our 12 days of Christmas, you're going to want to be there because he will have an official name. I'm dedicated to it 100%. But Becky and I had some conversations a bit back, because when she, oh no way, hang on, Dawn. You promised you were going to behave and not roast me too much, but I'll get you in a second. So when we were chatting and Becky had told me, and I think it was kind of before it was totally public, and we were talking about, I said, well, do you have a name picked out? And she was like, no. And I feel like, I don't remember if you previously, for your first two kids, did you have boy and girl names picked out?
I always had Goldie
Okay.
if I was going to have a girl. So when I had Judah, I had no name until we left the hospital.
Okay.
And for Goldie, right away, I knew that she was.
Okay. Because I felt like with this one, you seemed a bit unprepared and you were just like, I don't know. I just for whoever is involved in this conversation, I didn't know if I was having a boy or girl. So I was really sure I was having a boy. So it caught me a little bit off guard. Not that I had a boy name either, but. So, and one of the things Becky and I were saying, I'm like, well, look, I don't have this llama named. And so we were kidding around, but we were basically both like, okay, well, if you have a boy, I've got a boy llama, let's just,
we're going to do this
thing. And, we'll just kill two birds with one stone. All right, Dawn, I'm coming to you. I'm going to add a spotlight.
No,
Go ahead and shoot.
do that. I just wanted to tell you, obviously you have a friend that has found a method to find a name. Perhaps you should be asking.
You are going to be.
I know, let's talk. I named my daughter after a breed of sheep. So who am I to
if she had a boy, I would have been done, because we did have this kind of pact. I was like, look, whatever you name your kid, I could name the llama, because actually
a boy llama name.
There's no reason the llama can't be named that name.
Yeah, Libby could be a
heart.
It
And
is.
you
mean,
know,
it's-
I was waiting for last night. I was waiting for you to say you were naming it Rubelais because you were going on about the breed
Oh,
so
about
much.
the
You know, I
rainbow
was like,
nope.
oh, you
No,
know.
I'm telling you, Dawn, I am going to make you hang on until the 6th because look, I need a cliffhanger. I need a reason for people to come back. So between drawing our wonderful raffle basket on the 6th, we are also going to name the llama, and it's going to be a party. So, all right, I'm taking you off, but I'm telling
Thank
you,
you.
you're going to be so happy. So you just hang in there for me.
So you have a name.
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not telling. I'm not telling you. You got to hang in there. But so yeah, so I remembered that. I really was kind of hoping. One of the funny things, I don't know if Stephanie Krukenic is still on, her and I, like, weirdly enough, she named one of my baby llamas and then she named her first son that name.
Oh, that's
So
amazing.
because when people come for our open house, if we have a baby llama that's not named, I'll take suggestions. Now, mind you, the reason why this little guy still doesn't have a name is because they were stupid suggestions. You know, like a lot of times we get like Nestle, Coco, or, you know, like Snowball, or, you know, just, and I'm like, I can't do that. But so we didn't find one that was suitable, but she had named my llama Jackson. And then she went and named her son that. And then she had her second son who was named Benjamin or Benji. And then we named another llama that. So her and I keep telling her she needs to just have another one too. And then
Yeah.
maybe we'll keep going. Oh, look at that little nugget. So cute. Okay. So, oh my God.
I have my ring light on, so she's like, oh my gosh. Oh.
It's like so it's just basically like animal and children photography, right?
Yeah.
So the things you need to do to like get kids to like look alive and pay attention in our world, especially for baby llamas, just get something strange like a cat or a dog, or, you know, weirdly enough, and then they just like stand up all nice and proud in the ring. But she looks great. So I have so many things to ask. Okay, so first things first. Because I feel like I need to gift you something. I mean, not to be like personal. So are you nursing?
I am, but you know what? You gave me the cream when I was nursing Goldie, and I still have some, and I've been using it. So
okay. I was
but
gonna
and
say
you don't need to give me anything, but I love, if anybody doesn't have Chavis's creams and lotions and soaps, go get them.
well, also, I mean, I guess it was just more or less because how could I not gift you? I mean, the pure lanolin that we have, you know, honestly, anytime somebody comes to me or shops, and if I see they're pregnant or, you know, I know that they're nursing, I always love to gift the pure lanolin because of course, you know, that is what that's for. So that, oh, jump in, Lori, go ahead. You don't have to raise your
I
hand.
just want to say about the pure lanolin, it's perfect when you have a cold, which for applying to your nose and around your mouth, and it works phenomenally well. So that's a plug for you.
Well, thank you. And you just have to appreciate, I do always tell people the pure lanolin, like for those of us that love sheep and fiber, you know, it has a natural scent to it that is not appealing to everybody, which is why we do the other salves. But I do love it. It's just the pure lanolin with no fragrance added or anything like that is
Perfect.
specifically for those little ones. Now, even though this might sound gross, I always tell people my lip balms, now, it's not a lip balm you're going to want to share, but if I don't have anything handy, I use that on my nose because we've all been sick around here. And even still, I cannot stop blowing my nose and it's so raw. So I just take my lip balm and I use that on my nose. And again, I don't let anybody else use it, but it's just a great little like moisturizing stick for sure. So,
you know what? I think it's the best.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. All right, Becky, the realities. Running a small business with now 3 children and one under 11 weeks. I know you were kind of, which I hope you don't mind me saying, I know you were having like a meltdown last night, and I so appreciate you rallying. What's that?
I think I have a meltdown every night.
And that's okay. I mean, I think that's so good for people to hear, to understand. I mean, look, the cards were not there for me to be able to have children with my farm here, but I mean, that was the whole reason, why I set up my business and wanted to work out of home so that I could, juggle the two as well. So I'm always appreciative. Of course, I have a lot of like 4-legged babies, but I still swear it is not the same as having to juggle 2-legged babies that you can't say like, no, you have to wait, so so I really, I mean, I think it's great for people to hear, we all have our different struggles, but yeah, so how has it been?
It's tough. I mean, this week, I think part of my meltdown or whatever I had last night, it's vacation week, so there's no school. So running a business, busy season with all your kids, around is a struggle. So, the amazing part of, where we are in the world and everything is that I can do everything, it's part of the business is run on its own, the website and a lot of, you can place an order and I don't have anything to do with it. On the other hand, we're fulfilling every single order by hand. We don't have a distribution center doing it for us.
Wait, I don't mean to interrupt you. Wait, I have to tell you one thing. One of my professors that I work for, because my other hat is I work with vet tech students, and my one professor, I mean, he's known me, for 20 plus years. And the very first time he ordered from me online, I think I responded to him right away. And I'm like, Gary, like, I can just bring it to school. Like, why did you order online? He's like, oh my God, you got that? I'm like, where do you think it goes? He's like, I don't know. I thought it just goes to like some warehouse and the order gets filled. I'm like, no, it's me. Like, that's small business. And like, to this day, he's so cute. He like always brings that up. And so I think it's just really important because people who aren't involved in behind the scenes and who don't know us intimately, there's a lot of people out there, they don't understand how it works. They don't understand that, like, our rooms, our houses are right. And Lori, even like how we're packaging things and getting things out, and there's nobody else doing it but us.
Right. So that part is definitely difficult. And I pride myself, on really fast shipping. And Michelle, who's on here, sent me a message that she got her order in one day. So that was really great to hear that. So, there's struggles in that, but at the same time, I get to be, this week with my children and can answer all my emails while with them. Obviously it's not like the best parenting move all the time, but, we have, like a chat app on our website where you can chat with us directly and it goes straight to my phone. So it's very easy to do a lot of business things now. On the other hand, I'm plugged in 24/7. So it's, give and take. I always I've had this business through 3 children. And sometimes people will be like, wait, you answered me at 4 a.m. Like, why are you answering me? And I'm like, oh, well, I'm nursing at 4 a.m. So that's when I have a free minute to sit on my phone and answer all my emails. So there's the benefits of being plugged into and running a business and not having a ton of employees. And then there's the other side where it's, a full-time job. So those are the positives and negatives.
Well, I just think it's important, for people to hear for sure. And I do also want to say too, for everybody, I am looking at the chat. So thank you so much for your comments. I tend not to want to like reach up and start typing because I feel like it's distracting, at least for me. Not that you're distracting me with your comments. So definitely feel free to throw some things in there. I also want to say, just because I want to watch, we're still good. I do have, of course, things to share with everybody and coupon codes and all that kind of stuff, but I tend to try to leave that to the end because that's not totally, of course, what this is all about. So I want to go back to, because I don't know this answer and I don't know if Becky or Lori does. Like, I'm not really sure how we start to be friends.
I have something to say about it. And
okay.
It returns to Lisa Hoffman.
Yeah, it's all Lisa.
I have no idea.
I know when well, Mom, you were.
All right, wait. So only because Lisa's on, Lisa, I'm adding you on, whether you like it or not. So guys, this is Lisa
I just want to
Hoffman.
say how Lisa
you-
always.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. And also just for anybody who's on who doesn't know Lisa, and it was only because I just ran out of time and stopped adding people. So Lisa is also a dear, dear friend of mine, one of my big designers, and will be joining us on January 2nd. So it's a little sneak peek of Lisa.
Your hair looks so good.
Oh my gosh, I'll take that. Thank you.
I wanted to say that Lisa had always told us about Tabitha, and every time I would go to Vogue Knitting Live and pass Tabitha's booth, I would go, "Hi," in awe of Tabitha, of course, and say, "I'm a friend of Lisa's," and that was my connection. Becky has a different.
No, it was all through Lisa also. I think it was one of the last Vogue Knitting Lives that I was working at String, and we had I think dinner in one of the lounges or something. I was with
Maybe that's why I
Lisa
don't
and
remember. No, we had
Andrew, and you
drinks.
came, and I think that's how I started talking. And then I think it was just, and then when I started Clinton Hill Cashmere, our booths were next to each other. So you know what? And I remember the first time I was like, Tabitha's for me, because I think it was my first VK Live with Clinton Hill Cashmere. And I was like, a chicken with no head. And I didn't have the right tools to build my booth. And I went over so nervous. I was so stressed out. And you were like, you had every tool known to man, and you had this whole thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, she knows what to do about everything. And she gave me the tool and got my booth together. And I was so grateful that I had you there, because otherwise this piece wouldn't, be together or whatever it was. So
Well, she has Christopher, so that is the.
All right, let's
Oh, this was all Tabitha. She had the tool in her back pocket. She was she's like, of course I have a.
I was just gonna say, Christopher, we don't see him anymore. If you guys notice, now he just drops my ass off at Vogue Knitting Live. He's like, "Have a good time. You're on your own." So
I like the way that you would come in, do all your work, and then come back transformed into this stunning, beautiful woman. Not that you weren't beautiful before, but you were all fixed up and gorgeous. And that always impressed me, that you could pull that off so easily and with such finesse.
well, and I know, because I was gonna say vending at Vogue Knitting Live, I don't remember as much of that through Lisa, but so I love that. And
Because we were in so much awe of you, and we were just like these nobodies,
Please.
I've always been an advocate. I've always said how much I loved you and your products, and being your friend, Tabitha, and being part of your world.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing.
Cool.
I literally texted Lisa. I'm like, Lisa, you have to be on my program because we haven't seen each other in forever. And we are so overdue for going out. So at least if I could see you on Zoom, that would be more fun than anything else. But we do need a sushi date soon.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. I do pass by your house every weekend. So yeah.
All right. Well, with that, Lisa, I'm going to pull you off. But of course, I appreciate it. That's a little good sneak peek. I love it. I hope you will stay with us, of course. But Becky, I do want to say, once you started Clinton Hill Cashmere, and yes, so for those of you, maybe throw it in the chat. Let us know who is coming back to Vogue Knitting Live, because COVID, no COVID, we are super excited to be back in person at the Marriott Marquis. That's happening February 10th, 11th, 12th, 9th, 10th, 11th, something like that. Second weekend in February. She's like, woohoo!
Yeah.
And
we're going to be next to each other again. So you just come to both booths.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. That's the one thing, is that somehow or other, I don't know, we ended up, and look, here's the thing, you have your connections with Vogue Knitting Live, and I have my connections with the people that run it as well. But it's interesting because you and I have a similar aesthetic. So as much as you want to say nice things about my booth, when you set up your booth, I was like, oh my God, I'm like, I need to go back to the drawing board here.
No. I'm always like, how do I make it look more like Tabitha?
No, and I'm like, how do I make it look more clean and crisp like yours? Sometimes I feel like I just have shit everywhere,
this year.
and I have to downscale it. I've got to scale it back, but it's great. I'm trying to think of how I can say this, but it's still going to be entertaining. So you and I are next to each other and we have like a very similar aesthetic, which I absolutely love. And that's why I think we vibe so much that way. And then across from us, at least in the past, has been like a complete, absolute different dynamic. And I remember at first being horrified and saying something to Vogue Knitting Live people. but the lesson learned there for me was, you know, for having such a big booth as we do have, and yourself next to me, we're not competing for customers, you know, like with the people across. And that was just it. And I'm only saying that because it is funny if you're there and you know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, it was such a great lesson that, you know, there's something for everybody, right? And it's amazing when you get to a live event as big as this one is, to see all the different companies that are there and all of the different yarns. And I think that's one of the things that Becky and I have at least stayed pretty true to, creating what we love. And if you don't love what we have, that's fine, because there's somebody else that's doing something different. And that's what's so beautiful about it. So I don't know about Becky, but I'm not ever like trying to keep up with trends or colors or, you know, things like that. Like I just do what I like. And I think in terms of like what we project, the people that like us, you know, find us. And that's what's great about it. We still keep saying we need to have like something going on together.
We do.
Not even a pattern, but I'm telling you, see, we're going to put it in the ether. So we have no choice but to make it work. But there's got to be something where like somebody has to shop with you and shop with me, like a scavenger hunt, you know, kind of thing, you know, in order to like get something or be in a drawing for something, like, you know, just some way to like have fun working together that way.
This is pretty exciting for me too, to just be on here with you. So I appreciate
Well, and the other thing, because I want to give this shout out to you, like from a business perspective, you know, for anybody that might be on and running their own business or involved in some way, or just even having that person that you can relate to in this industry, and probably in a lot of industries, you know, sometimes people want to talk, they want to share, but they don't really get down to like the nitty gritty details. And for those of us, when we were both new, you're sort of like, I'm not really sure how to navigate this. Like I have nothing to go by because nobody puts anything out there, right? And so you're sort of like flying by the seat of your pants with maybe like a little bit of information, I feel. And Becky, I don't know again how we got there, but she is one person, even though we don't talk regularly, like whenever we do talk, we're always coordinating. If there's like a virtual event, are you doing this? What are you doing? Like, what are your thoughts? And when we really need to talk about stuff that's, you know, maybe sensitive topics or numbers, you know, that's a big thing. You know, when Becky and I can be comfortable enough to talk about numbers and share business, like that's so important to me. You do not have to change your screen, girl. Do not.
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, this is going to be recorded, so.
That's okay. That's okay. But that's just really important to me. So I wanted to say that, and just to say publicly, you know, thank you to Becky for always being somebody that I can, you know, reach out to and get information, honest information, and know that it's safe. I think that's really important too.
No, I feel very lucky to have you as a friend and a knitting, you know, industry person, friend, colleague. Thank you.
All right,
I think it started because we, during COVID, you were sharing upstate where my parents were, and we met up that way. And
I know now I feel like we got to end up because that's a whole nother, like now it's like you and Lori and myself and Lisa again. So yeah, so that connection for everybody. Thank you for reminding me, to bring that. So Lori and I were connected before physically, like Becky and I were connected, but Lori, you have a place right up in, or is that where, are you residing there permanently now? Lori, can you hear me?
No, we're not. We're part-time.
Okay.
But
During COVID, were you full-time?
I lived there full-time.
Yeah,
Okay.
but we went back and forth to Westchester. But Tabitha was shearing the llamas and the alpacas, correct?
Well, yes, yeah. So the alpacas that are, so the two farms that are right next to each other, right? And
And we have
so,
our beehives at one of them
Yep.
also. We have some, and they're friends of Lisa's. I mean, it's just
it's
a lot of
crazy.
overlap. The world is a small place, but we got to see you during this pandemic experience, and it was a lot of fun to get to see you and see you do your work, and we loved it.
I'll have to post some pictures after that, but it was great
Yeah.
because Becky was living up in Steventown, and that's the farm that I shear at, Phil and Larry. And then Lisa Hoffman is great friends with Phil and Larry. And Lisa, do you have your hands up? I'm like, wait, I
Yeah.
can get. All right, wait, I'm getting you. I'm adding you. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that maybe when I come on, maybe we should do something with Philip and Larry together when I come on. I'll see if they're available. That would be so much fun.
It would. So do they Zoom?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Everybody,
Not everybody Zoom, so I wasn't sure, but so definitely let's reach out to them and get them on, because so for everybody on board, okay, so Phil and Larry have been dear friends of mine because they raise and breed llamas. Phil has been a llama judge for a number of years. For those of you that have been with me, maybe even at the beginning of COVID, we had a llama named Double, and he was one of my OGs, and we lost him maybe right around or right after COVID started, but he was 23, so he was a ripe old age. But Double I got from Larry, and so I knew Phil and Larry, didn't really well, and then somehow or other learned that Lisa knew Phil and Larry, and then so now we just had this weird triangle. And then Lori has a house up in Steventown where Phil and Larry live, and then so that's how we got connected. And then, as Lori said, her husband has beehives at the farm next door, and my age is showing, and for some reason or other at this exact moment her name is escaping me, which is horrible.
Isabel.
Thank you, Isabel Krebs, absolutely. So that was another connection. And then of course, once Becky was living up there for COVID, then we got a chance to see her as well. So it's this like bizarre, but like amazing triangle. And so, yeah, even from like a llama perspective, we'll see if we can get them on. That would be absolutely super fun. Just from another llama breeder point of view, and somebody new. Now they don't retail anything. They're a perfect example of people that just love their animals, and I can usually take their fleeces if I want. I know that Larry, because he's involved in realty, he's been having like rugs made out of them, and he'll
Yeah, they
gift
were
them
so cool, the rugs.
to new homeowners. So that's cool too. But awesome idea. So good. We will work on that. Absolutely.
Just trying
See,
to
I'm
put the
telling you guys,
picture.
like all of this, like this is not like I couldn't have planned any of this stuff if I tried. This is where sometimes, and I said this last night, I was so afraid to jump on this bandwagon. I was so afraid to put a new idea out there. I was so afraid that nobody was going to be on, and it's actually just really evolving into something super fun. Now, of course, talk to me about the time I get to January 6th after I'm doing for 12 nights in a row, but it's been great. So I appreciate it. So we need to give some spotlights. So Lori, like, I just want to make sure people know. So guys, if you go to my website, we have 2 patterns, if I remember correctly. We have the slouchy.
At least two.
Well, so we have the slouchy. What?
Blanket, a hat, and soon to be another hat.
Well, yes. So that one. So we've got the slouchy farmer's cap, which is using our worsted weight yarn. It's just one skein. And then we have the shepherdess blanket, which originally started as a baby blanket using our sport weight yarn. But then there's also an additional version that, of course, is more yarn, but more of like a lap size, throw for your couch, bed, that kind of thing. So I know there's a number of people that have done both of those. And one of the things that I want to say, the arrangement that Lori and I have had in the past is that we gift you the pattern with the purchase of our yarn, but then I pay Lori for, giving us the pattern. So something does always, go back to her. I just like to make it easy for my customers. And, I'm happy to absorb that cost and gift it to you guys. So Lori hit me up. Literally, it was, dare I say, I was driving and I'm checking messages. And then you and I had this full blown conversation and I was just using voice to text, but totally unprovoked. Lori's like, I'm in the middle of making a hat with your yarn. And I'm like, what? And then she's like, I'm going to be done and I'll hurry up and finish it by 8:00. Guys, this was like an hour, not even an hour and 15 minutes from when we started. It was only halfway there and she banged it out. So this is going to be a new pattern in our bulky weight yarn. Now this is warm honey, which we don't have because it was one of our, one of a kind yarns, but we do have other offerings in our bulky. And then I guess it's going to be up to Lori. I'm not really sure how we're working it, but can you tell us about it and when the pattern's going to be ready since you just finished it?
It's a relatively simple pattern, but I will say that in the time that I told you, at about 6:30 until 8, I was still working on the design for the top of the hat. I realized in these last weeks with the really cold weather that we need warm hats. I mean, really warm hats. So before I left for vacation, I grabbed a lot of yarns that I wanted to play with. I grabbed this. I started a few days ago and I finished it tonight. It's a basic watch cap, but it has a very interesting finish. Let's see.
Why do you say that?
It's got a nice, when you make a ribbed hat, you want to maintain the rib as long as you can. I know Becky has, she was wearing one tonight. She does them in Clinton Hill Cashmere, which I've done too. She has a different kind of finish. It's a little bit different design, but this is great. The bulky takes 2 skeins. I will write it up and get it to Tabitha sometime in the next week, but I recommend her bulky yarn because it's fabulous. I love knitting, and I also sell a number of your yarns, which I encourage my knitters to, do all sorts of things with. It's been very popular and people like the uniqueness of it because you have it's a lot closer to the source type thing.
And what I do is different than what Becky does. Becky is, you're able to be like, we have this colors in these weights, and then they're constantly produced. And mine's a little more one-off or different. Like what you're wearing is now like even rebranded. So first of all, that yarn was like vintage because the tag you had on it that you showed me, I think I reposted that in our stories, but that's now what would be considered our farm to yarn collection. So anything that I can actually document the footprint of where that yarn comes from specifically, as opposed to our American raised and spun, which is more from like a collection from a pool. So, that's what we would now call what you're wearing. And so that is definitely one of, and that was actually all from our alpaca mafia. So we had 4 alpacas at one time that were all like a light fawn, which is what that color is. And I still shear actually all of them. So I still get to collect their fleeces and, be able to use them. So I'm sure we'll do that again in the future. But I appreciate it. It was a lovely surprise for sure. So you guys will have to stay tuned and perhaps
come up with a name. Whatever name you name on January 6th is what we're going to name the hat.
Amazing. Well, I'll give you that information then because I do have that. And so then if I can perhaps push you, do you think you can get the pattern ready by the 6th?
Oh, sure. I have it written up. I have it written up. It's just a matter of, getting it set up and all that. By the way, right. I'm wearing Clinton Hill Cashmere, which I wear every day. This is Becky's classic. Sophia Cal. This is just, it's a great combination, the two. And
I know we struggle, so I have to ask you this. And then Dawn, I do see your hand up, so hang tight for me. So I have to ask you just, and this is not putting anyone on the spot. It's funny because we always talk about, and this is good information maybe for people as knitters, understanding like the different construction of different yarns and what works together and what doesn't. And we constantly are always like, how can we do something together? But always, you know, rightfully so, going back to you as sort of like the grande dame of it, you know, in your opinion, what, you know, it's difficult for our two yarns to work together, which is totally fine. But I mean, I think it's an interesting conversation. So maybe you can just share your thoughts on that in terms of, you know, because it's not like we've not talked about it and routinely talk about it and wish we could find a way to incorporate the two.
Well, it's the idea of using two beautiful fibers. And they're not really
don't hold back. Like, this is not about making anyone feel bad. This is education.
No, but I mean, the idea that we as knitters, you know, the yarns we use and purchase are the ones that are the most unique and beautiful. And that's the way I feel about it. The way I run my business is I only carry yarns that I think are really special that you can't get in the average yarn shop. Because I know that's not accessible, you know, I want things that are not so accessible to the average knitter.
But knitting our two yarns together in a pattern, why doesn't it work? Seriously.
I don't know.
It could, like, obviously you can do anything, like you can knit whatever you want, whenever you want. I think when my mom and I had this conversation a couple of years ago, I think, whenever we first started talking about this, and it was more like making sure the gauge, making sure.
Right, exactly.
So it's a gauge issue. You know, I think that making sure that between, you know, the fibers are different fibers. So it's, you know, do you want to put cashmere with this with different gauges, like, you know, it's going to stretch differently when you wash it. It's going to, you know, your gauge. By gauge, I not only mean like what you're, because you can knit any gauge you want whenever you want. You know, you can have an open knit piece scarf that goes into tight knit, that goes into an open knit, that goes into a tight, you know, it's totally up to you. And of course will work. It's creating a pattern that, and I always, this is a struggle as a designer and creating patterns for mass market, is making sure that it will work and wear and last and grow. And every yarn is different once it's washed, blocked, things like that. So creating two completely different fibers together with different gauges, I think that could be very cool, but we don't know like how or what it will, what it could become. I think now that I'm seeing you, Mom, in this kind of set, that's our kind of, that's our collaboration.
And this was not putting anybody on the spot. I mean, I'm using this for education.
Yeah.
Because like, that's what this is all about.
Right.
You
So
know?
the two yarns in a hat, the two yarns in a cowl, the two yarns in a scarf together in the same garment, the same item, is, I think, not where it each will shine. And what could be really cool is creating a hat cowl, hat arm warmer, a set of some kind where you have Long Island Yarn and Farm doing its thing and you have Clinton Hill Cashmere doing your thing, and together they make this set like what you're wearing, where the pattern is almost the same. It's a rib or it's whatever the pattern is, and together they become this really, you know, sought after, trendy, cool set.
You don't want to lose the beauty of either yarn because they're both so beautiful. Yeah. It's just they handle differently, and I think most of the people here are pretty experienced knitters and value beautiful yarns. We're not limited to one kind or another. I mean, I just grabbed this because I loved it. You know, I just can't knit enough of yours. I need more, Tabitha. Now I know you can't get more of this. I want it.
Oh, no, we always have more. We always make more. But no, and I appreciate it. And that's, like I said, truly, it wasn't about putting anyone on the spot. I just, again, always looking to bring value to the people that are with us. You know, everybody, everybody can always learn something. And I just think it's an interesting perspective in terms of what you were saying, because, Becky's right, or what you said, anybody can grab 2 strands of whatever yarn that they have, but then we need to think about what's it going to do afterwards. And I think that's really important, and just an important point to make. So I wasn't taking anything on me. I was just giving you guys the platform to be able to talk about that. I have to tell you, one of my goals, because I have the whole branding worked out and everything, is to make what I call, so Lori, we should work on this, is I want to do Kriya kits. So Kriya is a baby llama, right? And I don't have anything, for babies. And I just think it would be so cute to create these Kriya kits, and the branding in my mind, it's like a stork, carrying the baby, but instead it's a little llama baby in it. And, you're putting this kit together, and there's lanolin as part of it, and maybe a cute, like something else to go with it. So I have 1,000,001 ideas in my head, and it's just a matter of getting it all out there. But, that's one of my things is, it's interesting because in my journey, right, people are always like, well, your yarn is not super wash. It's not washable. I'm like, or people will say, well, who's going to use your yarn for babies? They're going to puke on it, or they're going to grow out of it quickly. But again, for many of us, we do have customers, right, that appreciate fine fibers, high-end fibers, and, want to be able to make that luxury gift, whether it's their own baby or somebody else's baby. So seeing this little Libby, I'm like, oh, I need to make my idea happen.
Yeah. Knitting for babies is the best. So
well,
She does wear cashmere.
Finish so fast. What?
Well, it's a quick knit, but it's a quick wear because they grow fast.
Yeah.
But you have to just do it right. Like my kids wear cashmere sweaters all the time. I make them big, and they wear it a little oversized, and they have it for 2 seasons, and it keeps them really warm. So it's like a coat.
And if you have multiple children, you keep passing it
Right,
down.
Right.
And why would you put, this awful acrylics on your baby when you could put some cashmere or wool? Babies look great in wool, and it keeps them warm, and that's what we want to do. And there's lots of things. And it's so easy to wash things by hand.
In today's world, I mean, of course, costs and things, everything has gone up for everybody. But despite the fact that it's not super wash, even at least.
So what?
I guess cashmere is not technically hypoallergenic, but I will say llama and alpaca is hypoallergenic, and regardless, the softness is there, and they look super cute in it, right?
So, and the look now is, there's so much about natural fibers and rustic yarns. And it's very interesting because you're wearing the ribbed hat, right, Rebecca?
I'm wearing the Hudson hat.
Yeah, they're not quite the same, but you can see how different fibers lend themselves to a design, which is great.
And also different weights. I mean, you're using my bulky yarn, which my yarns tend to be always a little chunkier than commercial grade. So my bulky probably arguably is like a super bulky or super chunky or whatever they call it. Whereas what you're wearing is that, do you do DK or sport?
DK.
Okay.
DK heavy worsted.
Is that a DK?
This is the worsted.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Well, this is well.
Nice. So Becky, tell me, let's just, as we're kind of wrapping things up, because I'm appreciative that you're a mom, and I want to be able to just go over, of course, some of the wonderful things that we have in our raffle basket from both of you guys, actually. But what's coming up for you? Like, what's new? Like, what do you want to turn people on to? What's happening? What do we want them to know?
Awesome. So we have some new things coming out in January that we're really excited about. Some new designs mainly. And
how do you have multiple things coming out and an 11-week-old baby? You're putting me to shame.
Well, I have somebody that does a lot of amazing knitting for me. So I'm very grateful for my knitting team, including my mom. I have not really knit since I had a baby. So it's, that stuff will be out in January and February, so stay tuned for that. In January, we have our next knit along starting also, which has been really, really fun. And so make sure you're on our email list to find out. We're also offering everyone tonight a 10% discount off on our website. So thank you, Tabitha, for having me on and allowing me to meet and see some of the knitters I love and new knitters. So the discount code is, I'm in the chat.
I was gonna say, usually if you just shout it out, one of our fabulous people will put it in for you since you've got one
Okay.
hand, so don't worry.
So it's for December DEC 22, but it's good for longer than December. I don't have an end date on there because I forgot to put one on, but we'll give it 2 weeks, let's say.
I was gonna say, it's up to you, either like, I know my code is ending on December 5th because,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
we're-
So okay. Yeah. So
whenever
we'll
you
give it
want.
the end of the 12 days.
There you go.
That's perfect. I'll end it on the 12 days. And I'll put the website in a minute. Or Mom, if you want to put the website link in. And what else do we have? Really, we're ramping up for Vogue Knitting Live. So I'm super excited to finally be back live. We have 2 booths next to Tabitha. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I think in the future, we have some kind of set coming through with Long Island Yarn and Farm. So stay tuned for that.
Well, apparently I will definitely take you up on that for sure. So that'll be something to look forward to. Dawn, I feel so bad. I'm so sorry. So I'm going to come to you before I go over my stuff. I'm going to add you on Spotlight. So go ahead, lady.
Sorry.
Oh, wait, you're kind of, wait, hang on. We can't hear you.
Baby.
Sorry. Luddite, proud of it. I think this segues well into what you were just talking about, in that I grew up, I had acrylic. If I was lucky, I had cotton rug yarn. That was just what was available and affordable. It wasn't until 2010 that I really got into the better yarns. And a little town in Wisconsin has a mill close to where I was living. And I found out that the people with the sheep would have an alpaca or a llama to protect the sheep.
Ooh.
Because of the coyotes. They'll kick at and the sheep will follow the, so I don't know if it works or not, but that's what I was told.
No, it does. It does.
So I know that alpaca is 7 times warmer than wool. I know it. I know that different breeds of sheep, that's part of the softness and what makes certain breeds really expensive, as we talked about, because I named my daughter and didn't know. And so my question, and I think this works, and you kind of talked a little bit about it, Becky, is that cashmere stretches. So what are the characteristics of, because you've got the cashmere is more stretchy. So what are the different characteristics that way? I mean, because, you know, in my thought, when you said you can always use a pom-pom out of your scraps from one of them to the other one, or as tassels on the other one too, as far as mixing them, but why can you not weave them together? Why can
you totally can. You know, we were talking, you know, I'm a garment knitter, and I'm a, you know, the kind of the style of Clinton Hill Cashmere and the brand is these classic patterns, really, you know, kind of the way Tabitha described our booth, a bit minimalist, a bit clean, and we really have the yarn shine. And so I think where I meant that it doesn't, not that it doesn't work, it's that we, you know, I don't know for sure after steaming and blocking how everything, and it could be great and we could try it all out, but how it would totally fit with a product that isn't necessarily the exact same gauge, because of the way that Long Island Yarn and Farm is a more farm to yarn spin, and ours are, you know, produced in a mill, and it's the same every single time. It's, you know, more manufactured. So on your,
and yours is, Becky, not to interrupt you, but
Yes.
just to help you. So yours is 100% cashmere, right?
100% cashmere. So yes,
Yeah. So for instance, like cashmere and llama or alpaca on its own probably acts similar enough in that there's no memory. It's a lot of drape, but I choose not to. I very rarely these days do 100% alpaca or 100% llama yarns. Most of the time, my standard staple is usually about a 20 to 25% of wool blended in. And then actually now I'm even doing a little bit of silk just to try to help cut some of the pilling. So I have a blended yarn, and that is going to act totally different than 100% cashmere. Now, the only comparison possibly might be is we do some yarns, but only in my fingering and my sport, I'll do an alpaca silk blend. So there's no wool. So those might act somewhat similar, but again, I still put in that silk. So it's still going to create, a different knit, in that sense for sure. But I know what you're saying as far as like, if you had a hat, then the pom-pom could be made of the other yarn. Or I think again, probably the interesting compromise that we've all, I didn't, but that we arrived on again by happenstance is maybe it's just about saying, look, those people that love Long Island Yarn and Farm, honestly, love Clinton Hill Cashmere. We have so many of the same customers, and maybe doing something like an ensemble, that we see Lori wearing is the way to go, so that the two can act independently, but yet it honestly is like a marriage of a perfect friendship, which in my opinion is, what we all are, as businesses and as people together. So it kind of even says more, in that way too.
And what about the warmth factor with the cashmere? Like I said, I know alpaca is much warmer. We're retired now, so we're more in the warmer climates, or try to be. I'll be coming from a secret location tomorrow. We have to go up there, but I'm trying to stay warm, cooler. So I've been trying to get the linens. I've been trying to do silks.
Right.
How warm is cashmere compared to wool or alpaca?
So cashmere is one of the warmest fibers, and that's the reason why you might see skiers and hikers and things like that really tend to have cashmere sweaters and things like that. The goats the cashmere goats where this yarn comes from, they're in these mountainous locations in very, very, very cold winters, and then they have very, very warm summers, so they need to shed this fiber. And the tendencies of fiber, I usually have a whole PowerPoint presentation about the tendencies of the fiber, and I do like a Cashmere 101, but it has a very, very low micron count, and that's what makes it so soft and fine. But it's kind of I always say it's magical because it's a really lightweight fiber, so you put it on and you don't feel like this heavy,
Becky, can I interrupt with that? Because I don't know. So like wool is a solid cord fiber, is how we teach people. Llama and alpaca is a hollow cord fiber. So I would assume then, is cashmere a hollow cord fiber as well?
Yes, I believe so. So sorry, I just lost my train of thought with what
you were talking, sorry, you were talking about it being
the warmth of it.
Very lightweight, where wool is very heavy.
Right. So like if you have two balls, if you have a 50-gram ball, like a regular size ball of wool, and you have a 50-gram ball of cashmere, you're going to get a lot more yardage out of the cashmere. And that's because it's lightweight. But the thing is, it's so much warmer than wool that you're getting, so I always say it's like a little bit more bang for your buck, because you get this more yardage and you get the warmer fiber. So if you're looking for you're in warmer climates and you're looking for linens and cottons, I would say steer clear of the cashmere. You
well,
love it.
I just thought I'm
sweating right now in this hat. It is really, really warm.
Right. But what about doing a lace?
You don't get sweaty. I'm sweating, but I'm also, nursing and doing all that right now.
Yeah. But a lace, or James Watts has that design out called Look at My Holes or something. And I'm like, you'd want something a little warmer to compensate for the holes. So it sounds like that would maybe be something, not during the day, maybe, but in an evening or
so
in the mornings or something. So
we have a lot of customers and clients in warmer climates.
Yeah, so see, even both of us have customers in Florida.
So, and I don't know if Gail is still on, because she's in Florida and she knits a lot in cashmere. We usually say like a great wrap in cashmere at night or for the air conditioning, things like that are perfect for our cashmere. Because cashmere is really lightweight, it's this beautiful fiber that doesn't feel heavy on you, but will keep you warm. So it definitely is a warm fiber. I mean, it's going to keep you warm, but you can do something with like, more holes. I'm looking over here because we have a lace shawl. It's called the Gotham shawl. And it's this beautiful wrap that is like the most perfect kind of summertime evening wrap for a little bit of, chilliness. But if it's, 90 degrees out and the dead of the summer, I don't know that I'd put cashmere on.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Make
No,
me
that
small
was
again, please.
That was a great question. And,
Thank you.
that's the same thing with ours too, even like, that's why I do also, not only for people that might be allergic to wool, but we do that alpaca silk blend, because for the warmer climates, we consider llama and alpaca is, it's a cool fiber. Like, it has a cool hand. When you touch anything that has wool added in, it has a warm feel to it. But if the silk, with the silk and the alpaca, it has a cool feel. And so even actually, I don't know if Lisa's still on, I see her face, but one of our workhorses is our classic Hampton wrap that she did for us. And it's a perfect piece that it's done on a big needle. It's open, it's a wrap. You can wear it in the summer, you can layer in the winter. So it's the same kind of thing like you're talking about, because you just take Lisa's like, so you just, you take a warmer fiber, but there's ways to do it in more of an open knit, or, again, something depending. I also say, Becky, like you just said, I always tell my customers, it depends on your own personal thermal property.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Not mine right this minute.
Well, yeah, because you're holding a baby. See, I have the same trouble. By day 12, I'm going to get this worked out, because I have to put my fire on, because I'm out my like outside. It's a sunroom, but it's a porch and there's no heat out here. So I have to get the stove going. But then by the time I'm done, the stove is too hot and I'm like 5 feet from it. So then I'm stoking and I'm trying to wear knitwear, and then my face is beat red, and it just is a hot mess. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
100%. Between the light, the baby, and just having a baby and wearing
it's like having hot flashes, but so just, you're prepared. Don't worry, you'll be good when you get to it finally. All right. Well, look, I know it's been a long session and I so appreciate it. So I just want to wrap up, because I want to give also a thank you to both Lori and Becky, because they probably don't even know that they have some items in our raffle basket. So as some of you have heard, but I'll repeat for anybody who's on and hasn't heard, and of course for anybody who's going to be watching the recording on YouTube, one of my ideas about where did you just hand that baby off to?
She desperately needed to change her diaper, and I apologize, but
I'm like, I saw that little look. So you just got to hand her off like backstage. That's amazing.
Can you get your baby?
All right. Well, so one of the things also that I had come up with is, because so generously we do 2 open houses here on our farm for charity. And every year I reach out to people that I work with, yourself and your mom and other people as well. And this year, everybody was so generous that, believe it or not, we had so much stuff for our holiday open house that it was like ridiculous. To tell people that we have over $2,000 worth of raffle baskets in order to help raise money for charity is just crazy. And so we held some stuff back. And then that's also where I got the idea. There's so many people that I have in my following that can never get to our farm. And I wanted to be able to do something for people in that way. And so when you come to our open house, you do have to shop in order to be able to get a raffle ticket. And what we've always done is that for every $10 that you spend, you get a ticket, and then you get to choose all of these amazing raffle baskets to be able to put your ticket into, and we draw it at the end of the day. So we put together a basket for our community online who can never get here. And we've got now a basket that's totaling about $550, because Kimberly McAlinden last night bumped it up when she added a Hohi bag to the basket.
Ooh.
So I feel like I've kind of gone over this like 1,000,001 times, but again, we have new people all the time. So this is our basket that we, of course, are going to mail at our charge to the lucky winner on January 6th, which is our 12th day of Christmas, is when we're going to do the drawing. You do not need to be there in order to win. But in order to be part of it, you do have to use our code, and that is Holiday Life. Now, don't forget that's LIYF, and that's going to get you 10% off your order. One of the reasons too is we did not do any virtuals last month. This month, that was something Becky and I talked about, quite a bit. This was actually, now that I think about it, Becky, I'm going on a tangent, but you and I had conversations about trying to do something like towards the holidays. Becky and I are always like, we do these virtual events half the time. It's our usual audience, which we love. But our point is, why are we paying somebody else to do virtual events when we have our usual group? And this was kind of another way of why I came up with this, because we have
Next year, we're going to have our own virtual.
We do. We guys, we talk about this all the time. And, again, as a small business owners, there's lots of conversations behind the scenes. As one of my bosses once told me, there's a lot of beginnings, there's like a couple of middles, and then there's very few ends. And it just will take us a little bit to get there. But that is another way of where I got all of this from. So I will just say, I'm going to just highlight, this is my whole list of everything that has been part of this basket. Actually, Lisa Hoffman, who's still on, she's got 2 different things in the basket. So we also will, of course, be paying Lori for this, but we are taking Lori's Shepherdess baby blanket, or maybe you donated it. I can't remember.
Donated. I think I donated.
I know, but we're always paying you. But yes, I do think you did donate.
I'm hearing about it so much.
So Lori's Shepherdess baby blanket pattern will be in the basket. There's a number of other patterns from other people as well. Amy Kidd, for those of you guys that have been on with us from the beginning, she's got some of her Gotland roving that's going to be in it. One of our other guests, Christina from Chelsea Yarns, she's got some yarn that's going to be in it. Another one of our guests is Sally Brandon from the Shepherdess Studio. She has a hand woven pouch, one of a kind, that's going to be in it. I have, which Becky, I love your bags. I'm so jealous of your bags. And I've said this to you before. So we have your linen tote bag that is in this basket as well somewhere. Yes, there you go. Thank you.
Is Toby on? Because she's, I don't think she's still on.
No. Oh, you know what? That was Toby before when it was T. Nelson.
T. Nelson was Toby.
I haven't seen Toby as much anymore. That's amazing.
She loves those.
But yeah, so that's a $45 value. So we have a Clinton Hill Cashmere linen tote bag in it. Asylum Fibers, Stephanie Jones, she's going to be with us as well. Actually, I'm bringing in the new year with Stephanie. I'm totally stoked.
Oh, that's so fun.
Yeah, she offered to do it on New Year's Eve. Of course, we're not going to be on until the ball drops, or at least I don't think so. But so she's got a bunch of yarn in it as well. And Vogue Knitting, we've got a reference book there. There's a needle travel guidebook. So, and then again, Kimberly just last night, she added one of her Hohi bags that she had. So all in total, this is what's going to be gifted. And again, you don't have to be present in order to win, but you do have to use my coupon code. And guys, the only reason being is because I don't want this offered to anybody. Now, as I said last night too, if you want to go and give that coupon code to your friend, that's on you. Because the more people that are in this raffle, then you know how the how that all works out mathematically. But I didn't want to put this in a newsletter. I didn't want to put this out there, for the general public. So the only people that are getting these codes is if you've been part of our community knits nights, which always happens the second Wednesday of every month. So we did start to advertise it back in November. We did it in December as well. I've done maybe 1 or 2 lives, and when I'm on my live, I will mention it, but otherwise it is just widely going to be distributed throughout our 12 days of Christmas. So that's how we are getting you guys involved as our VIPs and our special guests to be part of this. Also, I will just say, guys, if you do happen to order consecutively, as much as we can, we will always combine orders and save you on shipping. So don't worry about that, because we will have some yarn drops that you're going to want to get in on like super quick before they go. So I think tomorrow night, I don't have my schedule with me. Anybody want to help me? Drop in the chat. Who do I have tomorrow night? I can't keep track of what the heck I'm doing. Who is tomorrow night? I don't know. All right. Well, I know we've got a great lineup. Wait,
Autumn
that's-
Molly.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys, I'm super excited. Well, I'm excited for everybody, but thank you for dropping that in there, Stephanie. So guys, Autumn Olive Farms is, I also really tried to create diversity in my guests. So Linda Tranium has nothing to do with fiber. She is one of my customers. I shear 2 of her llamas. She actually has a pastured, like a pastured pork business, if you will. Like they pasture their pigs. However, I will say, you guys know I don't eat pork. I have the most amazing respect for these people, for their farm, the science behind their business. However, their stories are amazing to follow. Linda has an amazing cast of characters, just like I have here on my farm. There's Harold the pig, there's Bobby, so there's Billy Joe. Like they have pigs that they keep as pets as well. There's Cadillac the rooster, but I think he's gone now. That there's a duck now. Like she just has the funniest stories. So if you're not following her, and again, a little bit of fun, a little bit of science. I just really, really strongly encourage you to jump on board to learn something new. It's not about knitting, but it's about introducing you to new people and other people involved in agriculture like myself, just a different form. So with that, also make sure if you're not following Lori, she is Lori J Knits, right? So Lori J Knits on Instagram. Lori, do you open up your newsletter to anybody for the knitting
Anybody
salon?
can sign up. Just go to my, you can direct message me on Instagram, or I think we put in the website, but direct message me on Instagram. They should be able to figure out how to get my newsletter.
Okay, good.
And I'd love to.
I know,
have
I
people-
get it, and I look forward to it because I love even seeing like the weaving. Oh my gosh, which I feel so bad. We didn't even like talk. I mean, there's so much that we talked about, and this is how it is all the time. When my guests are like, really? Like, how long are we going to be on for? We didn't even talk about any of your holiday traditions. So Lisa, you're going to have to like pick up on the Hanukkah traditions and like, you know, get us up to speed with all of that. But Lori, your weavings are amazing that I've seen you do.
Oh, thank you.
You know, for your holidays. They're just absolutely beautiful. And I love getting the newsletter too, when you have your select amount of honey that's available from your beehives and everything. So Lori J Knits, of course, you guys know Clinton Hill Cashmere. Do make sure you're following them. Becky, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. I haven't updated it in a few years. I do more on Instagram Live. So we do Wednesday lives every Wednesday for the last 2 years, except for today.
Oh, gosh. Well, that's
No, today was it's the
I
last
was gonna
Wednesday of the
say-
year. So we just did a recap of this month. But yeah, so I do more on the lives and do those videos. I used to do a YouTube thing. I would love to get back into it. That'll be a
I was gonna
baby
say, I have a
goal.
lot of 2023 goals, so if I
Yeah.
can accomplish like 2 of them, I'll be thrilled. But we did just start up our channel. We kind of like haphazardly had one. But so this video will be loaded up there. I'll make sure Lori and Becky, you guys, you know, get the link as well, so that way you can share that with your people. Because again, anybody can take advantage of what we're offering them if they listen to it in time. So don't forget, guys, Becky gave you that coupon code, which was DEC 22, right?
Yep.
Well, thank you for that. And
Thank you
to
so
the
much for having
both of
us.
you, I was gonna say to the both of you guys, thank you so much. I'm not really sure who's having more fun because honestly, every time I'm just so excited to see faces. You know, that's why I know I see Dawn. That's why I wanted to do this on Zoom because I want to see faces. I want to hear voices. I do like Instagram Live, but I like the bigger screens. For me, it's more visual, and that really works well for me. So thank you so much for being willing to jump on board and do this. Lisa,
you.
I hope this gives you a great idea of what we do. Because as I said earlier before you came on, Lisa called me today. She's like, I just agreed to do this. I have no idea what we're doing. Like, just fill me in. So she said she was going to jump on board and see what it was all about and to be able to support you guys as well. So all right. So with that, you go get your baby. I'm sure
She's screaming. Sorry, she's screaming.
I was
with
like, I
pain.
hope dad knows how to change her. So you go.
No, he's good until I just hear her screaming. So thank you guys so much for having me
Absolutely.
on. Thank you, Tabitha, so much. And
Love you guys.
I hope to
Go,
see you
go,
all
take care of
soon
your
and at
children.
BK Live.
Love you, everybody. Take care.
Bye.